pick we just made, Jordan Addison, somebody we targeted very early in the process. You know, Kev has a phrase he likes to use a lot. It's natural to him. You know, we watch a player where you can tell football just makes sense to him. And Jordan's somebody that does that. You know, obviously a Blitnikoff winner, is a true sophomore. Separation, sense in space, different things. It's natural to him. An incredible, really good football player. Quiet, hardworking. Elevates those around him. He fits in our culture really well. So we're excited to add him, and really excited to see him tomorrow and get going on what we're trying to build. With that, any questions?
Any temptation to go defense or cornerback with that pick?
Or cornerback?
Or cornerback.
We consider every position. You know, ultimately, you got to just go with your board, look at your evaluation, consider different scenarios. We considered a lot of different ones, but ultimately, we're excited we added an impact player at a premium position, and that's what we went with.
Kwesi, Kevin has talked quite a bit about trying to counteract the fact that teams spend so much of their attention on Justin. How much does this help kind of give you a counterpunch there?
It certainly does. It's somebody who can separate the way he does on the other side. That brings a certain matchup issue to other teams, but I also don't want to leave out the current guys we got on this team. KJ Osborne can also separate, and obviously TJ and a lot of different guys on our team. So what he does add to that room, we're really excited what he can bring, and I can't wait for Kevin to get in the lab with all these guys.
How much personal interaction did you have with him, and just what stood out to you?
Yeah, he comes in on top 30, and obviously I got to sit and talk with him, and just I love getting to know guys. I don't really view that as I'm judging them in any type of way. I just want to know how they tick and what it's going to be like to share a hallway with them. And you can tell there's a quiet confidence. And maybe it was a little louder today after he got the pick, but very confident person as you would be if you were him. Very natural at what he does, hardworking. Just a great. We spent some great time together. Asked him a lot of questions, what he wants to be, how he wants to help the team, what it's like. Just really enjoyed the time with him, and that obviously you base it on the film and things like that. But you know, it validated all the things our scouts found out about him and how he interacts with teammates, how he interacts with people. Again, really excited to add him.
Kwesi, was Jordan the pick all along when those wide receivers started to go that would have run? Starting at 20, did you start to get a little nervous?
I hope nobody would call me as nervous, but you know, you are considering different options, right? You know, there's a lot of talented players in the first round and in the draft at large. We considered a lot of them, and Jordan was somebody we're really happy that we ended up with. I'll just leave it at that.
What are your expectations for this offense next year, having all the pieces that you have and adding Addison?
Just to continually show up and work. I mean, I don't want to put a certain rank or anything like that at him, because that's not my job or anybody's job. I just like I tell our players when Jordan came, he asked me about what's it like here, and I told him, and I mean this, Jenny, this isn't hokey, but we wake up every day, put a smile on our face, and try to be the best version of ourselves. So if you ask me that question about the offense, the defense, the special teams, the running back, the receiver, I'd give you the same answer.
Kwesi, there was the NFL Network camera was on you guys for a while, and I don't know if it was timed up live or if it was earlier, but it looked like you guys were working through some stuff until pretty close to the end there.
Yeah.
Do you just have some trade options? Or you had, I mean, obviously you like Jordan, but were there some options you had to work through?
It's a deadline league, man. People come at the shot clock's coming down. They make you question your plan. But me and Kevin, we put a lot of work into this process, and I gave him a ton of credit, but I put a pretty big load on him. Strategically knowing what players could be available to us at certain times, and so in the moment it wasn't a panic. Is that we knew exactly what we'd be willing to do different things, and we're very confident with the player we got. We were just waiting to see if anything came up to entice us, and it didn't, and we ended up with again impactful player at a premium position.
And I think the team below you traded pretty quickly after that.
Yep, and ultimately you're always playing those scenarios out in your head and what could have happened, and I'm that times a million, because ultimately your job is to try and win on the margins, right, and cobble together all those small wins and add up to something great. But I think what you first and foremost realize in this league, you got to win with impactful players. That's where it starts, and if you can get one, you should take one, and you should only risk not getting one if you get something meaningful back.
Are you comfortable with just 4 picks the rest of the draft?
Maybe this is just me speaking my own reality, but I think I'll be about just being efficient with the picks. There's still maneuverability on the board. There's always things you can do, but you know, we're gonna do, like I said, we're gonna wake up every day, be the best version of ourselves. We're gonna make this draft the best version of ourselves with the opportunity we're afforded.
Kwesi, Caleb Evans tweeted that practice was gonna be crazy now. Just how fun is it to see some of the young defenders getting excited about bringing somebody in at that position who can make them better?
It's you know, that's the vibe we want. You know, we see Caleb, by the way, has put in a great offseason. We see him out there every day working. He's excited to be back. And what's great about a practice environment, when you talk about something like Justin Jefferson, you know, when you get to see defenders go against him, you can make some pretty decent conclusions about how good they are, because that is the best guy on the planet. And so you add another guy like Jordan on the other side, who's a pretty good player, you can start evaluating your team pretty well, because you know, hey, you know, you can make some decent conclusions. So I'll say that from my perspective is a great thing. But just, yeah, to your point, competition's always great. Depth's always great, and I'm excited for the environment we've created.
Kwesi, did you guys think at all before you made the pick at 23 about moving up in the first round to get a quarterback or anything else?
We considered a lot of, I promise Kevin and I did, yeah, man, a ton of work on all these options, all these scenarios. Ultimately, we felt like the opportunities there didn't make sense for us, and we ultimately just really happy that we ended up with the player we ended up with, and we think that's the best course forward.
So historically, starting quarterbacks come from that top 15, 20, I mean, not all of them, but
Yep.
most of them. So
Yep.
knowing your situation here, like how do you view the next couple days in terms of that position?
Yeah.
For you?
Yeah, I mean, look, ultimately the highest probability are those, you know, and you got to bet on your ability, if you take it outside of those, to identify, develop, and then also there's plenty of other avenues, right? And again, I think we know that that's the most important position. We have an incredibly good one right now, and we'll see what happens after that.
How do you characterize or describe like what it's like to be in this role? It's your second time doing this, but how do you describe it?
Keep getting. That's the way I live. Keep getting better. Keep growing. I know last year, you know, I think there were certain things that just happened for the first time. I'm like, wow. And this year, you know, you say no, and there's a little different voice behind it, a little weight behind it, because you know the work, how much more prepared you are, how much more experience you have. But other than that, I lean on the people in that room. A lot of people stood up and clapped. That's what we joke about in that room. I want a room full of people standing and clapping, and we put together a great process to make sure that happens.
Kwesi, I know you said your mind is always wondering about what to do next for this team. How long do you think you guys will be here tonight trying to formulate a plan for the rest of this weekend?
You know, I've been told I gotta go home. The home sauna has been turned on. I gotta go 30 minutes, get a little relaxation in, get up, do it again tomorrow. But at some point at 4 a.m., I'm sure the mind will start turning on again, and I'll be looking at the ceiling. But that's fun. For somebody like me, that's not. I'll tell you that, you know, in jest, but it's fun. I think a lot of people enjoy that part of the job.
Kwesi, was it helpful to see tape of Jordan in two different offenses, two different programs in college, and what were the different ways he was used at Pittsburgh and USC?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, probably one of the first times I saw him was when he was played against Booth. The first time I was watching Booth, and obviously I knew he was the Blitnikoff winner and all that. It's great. When you talk about college players, a lot of the hard part is kind of watching them versus a certain conference and trying to adjust for, hey, how good is that player that's playing against them? But because, to your point, he's played in two different conferences, played in bowl games and all those different things, you got to evaluate him with different quarterbacks. Again, usage-wise, one of the reasons we love him so much is the inside-outside flex. I mean, he can win on the outside, can win on the inside. Really, and again, like I said, there's a couple players in this draft that you just feel like we're supposed to do the thing that they're going to get paid to do in the NFL, and he's one of them.
How does he win, being maybe a little bit smaller?
Yeah.
Than some of the other prospects?
Yeah, I think some guys just understand how to set guys up, how to displace defenders. I think he's really sudden in and out of cuts. So, you know, we always talk about kind of a guy getting the first blade of grass on movement, and he's one of those guys that typically gets the first blade of grass. It's just, you know, we have a really defined process when we talk about receivers. Kevin, you know, that's almost not work for him. We give him a load of receivers. He loves doing it. And we both come to the same conclusion. This guy is consistently open. He can make plays with the ball in his hand. And again, we love guys that show up and they work. He fits into that room with Keenan, who, you know, obviously we think is the best in the league, and he's going to make him, you know, one of the better players in this league.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.